Hi, everyone. And now for the second part of my interview with makeup artist Lee Will. Enjoy.
So how was that transition to New York? I lived in New York for a long time, so it's a much different place from the DC area. So what did you really cut your teeth in New York? How was that for you?
I think within the first, say from the end of 2013 till I went to LA in 2015 and then came back to New York. And I
Okay.
think in that time is where I saw a lot of growth, but that was probably the most like personal growth I had,
Hmm.
which made me a better artist of just like those were some like really tough times of,
Yeah.
not really having a lot of people around you, but also going into a space that, where I didn't always feel accepted. And
Hmm.
then also having, a lot of personal relationships that, you know, were broken up because of like some decisions I made and not being able to, wrap their mind around
Hmm.
a straight black man being a makeup artist.
Right.
It
Right.
was very like isolating,
Yeah.
which can be tough because we're in a industry where networking is such a big part of what we have to do,
Right.
but it's really tough to do when you don't trust people because
Mm.
you like, the people that's closest, some of the people that's closest to you, you're like at odds with.
Mm.
So it makes it really difficult to want to bring in anyone new.
Right. Right.
So that period was like a really tough time for me,
Hmm.
and I don't think I didn't realize how tough it was in the middle of it, but when I got out of it and like looking back on it, I was like, dang, like I was in a really bad space. And
Yeah.
luckily I was able to have moments of being creative and being on set that kind of um saved me through during that time.
Right.
But a really rough time. But it also helped me get to a space where like I can do stuff like this. I can just pack up and move and go
Right.
anywhere in the world and know that I'll be okay and
Right.
I can
Exactly.
work too.
Right. Okay. So yeah, it strengthened you and really told.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Were you represented at that time when you were in New York and then LA, or were you just kind of freelancing still?
I was just freelancing,
Okay.
making it work,
Yeah.
uh, taking like little part-time jobs and stuff to like pay bills and
Mm-hmm.
trying to find that line of like doing the things that I enjoy doing within makeup
Right.
and also supporting myself.
Right.
Because especially early on, you have to say yes to a lot of things that aren't really good for you outside of you're going to get paid for it at some point.
Right.
um, so just trying to figure that out and finding that balance was really tough early on, and
Yeah.
especially when you're new and you're not established and
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have a lot of good work to show. It's
Yeah.
hard to be like, well, I don't think I should do that.
Right. Right. You kind of have to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you feel like you um I don't know, like a not your like the big like your first big break. When and where did you experience that and you felt like, okay, now I feel like I'm in a good groove and I can do, I can I can soar in this field.
um I think there was like little moments here and there.
Okay.
When I moved back from LA, um, it was the beginning of 2017,
Hmm.
and I was like, "All right, this year I'm gonna get," because I'd been trying to get on either like Dick Page's team or like Diane Kendall or somebody like that where their work really resonated with me and
Right.
it felt like it made sense. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get on Dick Page's team as soon as I get back. And like I got back in January and in February I got on this team.
Right.
And then when I got on this team, I really felt like I kind of elevated really quickly to
Yeah.
where I was getting called on like 'cause I was like, all right, I'll do a couple shows and but then I was like getting called for like Vogue and W and starting to be on those sets, and then you start to feel comfortable, even the times where you're not really doing anything because you're
Mhm.
not assisting. I think it's such an important thing to do,
Mhm.
but I think people have this idea of like you're always going to be doing makeup, or it's going to be like sometimes you're just sitting there and
Right.
watch it, just
Watch.
soaking up
Yeah.
information,
Yeah.
and which was great for me as someone who came from nowhere near fashion
Right.
to be able to like, oh, what was that name? Let me write that down so I can research later, or oh, what's the reference? Okay, I need to learn about these references. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where I really started to figure it out.
Okay.
And then I would have moments where you always think like, all right, if I do this job, now they're gonna be calling and blah
Right.
blah. Then that doesn't happen. So you keep having that moment,
Right.
but
Right.
I don't think I really had the actual moment until like maybe it had to be like right before lockdown, really.
Mm.
Where an artist, Inga Gunyard, who's amazing, who I worked with a few times,
Yeah.
she was able to do a campaign
Mhm.
and she passed it along to me and
Wow.
was like, hey, like, I think you should do this. Like, I don't have time, blah, blah, blah.
Great.
And so that was like my first like campaign where it's me and like you know,
Right.
so that's when I was okay, it's paying off,
Right. Right.
know.
All the hard work. All the research. Okay. So what happens? Why did you make the decision to move then to London?
Um, I moved to London because so right before lockdown, I had signed with an agency.
Okay.
Uh, so Premier Hair and Makeup and Karen Agency, which are both based in London, they had
Mhm.
partnered together and opened up a New York office.
Okay.
And um, so I'd been like researching agencies and stuff, and I saw that they were opening up a agency. So I
Mhm.
just reached out,
Mhm.
and there's a connection somewhere in there where one of the agents rep Dick Page like years ago.
Okay.
So that name kind of helped. Like, well, if you worked under this person, then we know you like know what you're doing anytime. So they
Right.
took a meeting with me,
Mhm.
and then ended up taking like 2 or 3 meetings.
Wow.
And then they were trying to figure out like how they could bring in this newer artist and kind of develop and where it makes sense. So I
Mhm.
ended up signing with them finally, and then maybe like a month or two later, lockdown happened.
Right.
So it was like, well, great. This
Yeah.
is
Right.
perfect timing.
Right.
So once things started to clear up,
Yeah.
they couldn't really put into that office how they wanted to because they wanted to be coming back and forth and bringing artists back and forth.
Right.
So they closed the New York office,
Right.
and we still kind of kept in contact. And just so happened in a conversation, they were like, it'd be great if you were here because then we
Yeah.
could. I was like, I'll move to London.
Right. Right. Right.
Like I don't have kids and all
Right.
that, so I'll just pop. I can pack
Right.
a bag right now.
Right.
So they were like, great. They signed me. They sponsored my visa to come over. So
Yeah.
I have to do it.
Right. Right. So that was was that 2019 or 2020?
So I just moved to London. It's been just over 2 weeks now.
Oh, so you're literally you just got there.
Yeah, I just got here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. So how are you, you've only been there for a few weeks. So how are you finding it in comparison to?
Um, it's great. I feel like it's a really great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a lot going on, and then already being over in Europe, it makes it easier to travel to different places.
Right. Right.
Just take it as an opportunity to really like travel and
Yeah.
expand on things that's going to feed me and my creativity.
Yeah.
And I think I do well here. I really feel like I have a great relationship with my agent,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're still, it's new, so we're still working out the kinks and everything. But I feel like it's a good space to be in for sure. And
Good.
far London has been, amazing place
Yeah.
to explore. So
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Do you have any, have you started working yet, or you guys are still working that out and things are gonna be coming up soon?
yeah, I have a few jobs that I'm waiting to hear back on.
Okay,
So it's good. It's like a good mix of things, and so I'm looking forward to it.
good.
And um, yeah, so I know it's weird because you like get to a space where you kind of you feel as though like, all right, now I'm going into like that next phase or you know, that next idea of like where artists kind of level up to, but then I'm also like moving to a new place, so I'm kind of also
Right,
starting over at
right,
this
right,
time
right,
because yeah, you have great work, but nobody knows you here, or
right. And that's exciting too, though, because you can, you're meeting new people, you're learning something, maybe something a little different. I'm sure different. And yeah, but you also get to show people, well, hey, this is what I did, and they may not. It may be something that they've never seen too. I don't know.
yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to kind of really move forward and establish like my voice and what that looks like and
Right.
the kind of jobs that I take and just
Yeah.
kind of being more mindful of what I say yes to and
Right. Right. Right.
taking advantage of this opportunity of being in a space where I don't have to say yes to everything.
Right. Which is
You
good.
know,
Yeah. You most.
good. And if it doesn't feel right, to be like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna pass on that.
Do you have a preference of editorial versus shows? What do you like, or do you like? Is it a mix?
It's a mix. I'm definitely trying to get into a space where I'm doing more campaigns and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
Uh, just did something for Balenciaga like right before I left,
Cool.
um, which I'm hoping to get confirmed for again, so I can to do in November, go back to New York and
Okay.
do another campaign for them.
Okay.
But trying to move more in that space because
Right.
I love editorials and shows, but
Yeah.
they pay well.
Really?
Unfortunately, they don't. Um,
Okay. What pays? I know makeup, but I'm not. I don't know it. So what's the money?
um, I mean, I guess it's like a sliding scale, but I would say like your commercials and bigger campaigns are
Got
at
it.
the top with like your movies and
Okay.
shows
Okay.
stuff.
Right.
And then, but yeah, editorials. I mean, some do and some don't, and it just
Okay.
depends. There are other things about editorials that you take those jobs because that leads to the other things. So it's kind of like a part of it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you might do this editorial, but then also that you'll be working with that photographer for this brand,
Right.
you know, or for this campaign or ad.
Okay.
So and it works itself out, but I think it's just trying to establish like, you know, sometimes the pay doesn't make sense for like what you're doing. And you're
Right.
like, in order to execute this the way it needs to be,
Mhm.
like I need an assistant, I need this, like it needs, because I never want to be in a situation where I'm saying yes to something, but I'm not able to like I'm not put in the best position to be able to put the best work forward.
Exactly. Right.
Because yes, I want to pay my bills and live comfortably,
Mhm.
but my work is what's my priority to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, and what I put out there is important to me, and what it says,
Right.
messaging, and what company it's tied to, and all those things. So there's
So
so much that you kind of have to work through,
right. Right.
when to say yes and why not.
Right.
You
Do you feel like you're in a better position to do that now that you're in London with this company? And
know?
with the years that you have under your belt?
I think it makes it definitely gives you more discernment, but it doesn't always make the decision easier
Okay.
because I feel like it's also one of those things where it's like ignorance is bliss. So when you start to really get in it and you learn about like that, this would be a good opportunity, but like this brand is and what their values are, like
Right.
I can't work with them, you
Mm,
know. And
okay.
I think this isn't really this hasn't always been an industry where that's people really care about that, you
Mhm.
know.
Mm,
A lot of it's like, oh, we'll let some time go by, and then that brand's back popular again, or that
right.
design's back, or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of navigating that, and also understanding like I'm going to end up working with brands where I didn't know going into it, like this is what their stance is on everything. So
Okay.
yeah, so that kind of makes it tough too.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. What you mentioned it not too long ago about being a Black man in the industry, but also seeing how the women that you knew weren't able to find brands that were resonating with them. How has that affected your work? How does that play into it now too? That when you have a Pat McGrath and her line, you have a Fenty, and the inclusion is there a little bit more now. But how have you navigated the industry, and have you found it hard to navigate or challenging because you're a Black male? Are you seeing more inclusion in the industry when it comes to makeup and being a Black makeup artist?
Um, there's definitely more inclusion as far as like product development
Right,
and stuff that is actually going to look good and read well
right.
on deeper skin tones.
Mhm.
Um, I think we're still behind on having artists and creatives in places to bring in other Black and brown artists and creatives to
Okay,
be in positions to give other people opportunities. Like I
right.
know so many amazing, talented artists who mostly assist,
Hmm,
who have all the skills and tools and everything to run a show,
right.
to key a campaign, to key all these things. And I think that still needs to catch up
Mhm.
because when you're on set and when you're doing shows, there's more times than not, there are not nearly enough of us
Mhm.
um, working on that behind the scenes side of it. Like
Right,
there's more models,
right,
but now there's
right,
not always enough artists to
right,
make sure we're taking care of the models.
right.
So then you get models having, posting videos about people messing up their hair and having them walk down like that's just like they shouldn't have to have those type of like embarrassing and just traumatic experiences
Right.
on big shows or sets or things like that. Like we still shouldn't be dealing with those things. So I
Wow.
think we're still behind in that side of it
Right.
much more than in the product or the consumer side of it.
That's interesting to hear because yeah, there are more Black. We're definitely seeing more Black models on the runway, but them not having the people behind the scenes like you to really make sure they look good. It's still an imbalance, which you know
Yeah.
that's yeah. We're getting low on time, so I want to just it's been a great conversation, but I want to just ask this: who would you like to collaborate with that you haven't already? Um, an art makeup artist, a model, a campaign. If you have any
Um,
to that you
that's always a tough question. I feel like I look at I think the main thing is just wanting to collaborate with people that want to work with me
mm,
and want my input
right.
and I have some type of say in what we're doing.
Hmm.
But if as far as like picking a person, I would have to say maybe like Solange.
Okay. Okay.
I
Yeah,
feel like I always resonate with whatever she's doing, like creatively.
definitely.
And
Mhm.
I also feel like she's someone that takes chances and risks with looks and different things. And I think, we don't have a lot of that anymore
Right.
where people try to go for the moment, and you might not. It might not hit.
Right.
You might be on the worst list, or you might be
Right.
on the best.
Right.
But it's about taking that chance, and
Right.
at the end of the day, we're not, we're not doing surgery or nothing like that. Like
Right.
it's not. It's only but so important, in the
Right.
grand scheme of things. So let's have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. What else is inspiring you outside of makeup? I did see one of your posts where you were just making up your space. You were like putting furniture and flowers and things. Is there anything else that you're passionate about that you're also put time into outside of makeup?
I think just about being creative as much as possible.
Yeah.
I think for me, interior design and stuff like and home decor and stuff, that's where everything stems from.
Hmm.
Because as a kid, like those are my, some of my most like fondest memories of rearranging the space with my mom and like switching up stuff.
Right.
And or I would come home and the whole apartment looks different,
Yeah.
and the same furniture, but
Right.
how it's worked. And I
Right.
think that's something that I noticed in a few members in my family have that, like her
Okay.
brother, and then I think I have it too, where I'll just get up at 2 in the morning and start moving stuff around and like, "Oh, I should paint this wall," or
Uh,
yeah. So I think that's kind of where everything kind of stems from. So whenever I'm in a rut or I really need like a push of inspiration where I'm not really having jobs right now, or I got some downtime,
yeah.
I kind of revert back to that first, and then go from there.
Okay. Okay. That sounds cool. So that might be something that you want to venture into, maybe professionally at some.
Yeah, I think the ultimate goal is to be able to create in any medium without question.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. Love it. Okay. Lee, this has been great. We have about 2 minutes left, so I don't want to take up all the time. I'd like to thank you off screen too, but thank you so much for your time. I'm fascinated by your story and what you're doing, and I wish you all the best in London and of course everywhere that you go. And thank you for being a part of this my new venture, Color Coded Style. Um, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me and asking me.
Yeah,
It's an honor for sure.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.